Hey guys, Aubrey here with Erin Motorsports. So I've been doing a lot of work on the race car, trying to redo the whole serpentine belt and accessory system so that it works better because my belt was slipping. And I learned quite a bit on this, trying to find an automatic tensioner, trying to figure out alignment on these pulleys, and trying to figure out, how to position, where to position automatic tensioner. So I thought I would cover some of those things in a video for other people that are trying to figure this stuff out. So this is my system right here. You can see that I've got a lot of accessories on here. I'm running a supercharger, I'm running the alternator, I'm running the power steering pump over there, and I'm running the water pump all off of one belt. So I had to figure out how to get a better tensioning system on here. I originally had the automatic tensioner here. It was pulling down on it, but it was between the supercharger and the crank pulley there. So essentially it's pulling from here really hard because this is using the most power on this belt. So it's pulling really hard from here to the crank pulley, and it's just flexing that tensioner up, and then you're getting slack on the backside. So your tensioner should always be as close to the slack side of the crank as possible. So in this case, this crank turns clockwise. This is the slack side. I cannot get a tensioner in there, so I put this pulley in there, which helps to make it so that there's less flop there. But it doesn't eliminate it entirely. But putting the tensioner over here really helped quite a bit. So if you can get it over here, and you can even, sometimes you can mount it so that it's pulling up, so it's not just pushing sideways on this, but it's actually got its own loop that it's pulling up on. That's the best, is if you can get it here. If you can't get it there, you can run a manual tensioner, but you have to watch out if you're doing like off-road racing or something like I am, where you can get mud, dirt, and rocks up in there, then manual belt tensioner will not give you enough flex. So the next thing we need to talk about is tensioning the belt. So this is a cricket gauge, and it is made to give you your belt tension. So you put this on here and you push it in, and when it clicks, you stop. So the slower you go, the better, the more accurate you're going to be. And that is around, it's saying it's around 100 pounds right there, but this should be closer to 120. So let's try it again. Do a few times to take your average, because if you bump it or you push down too hard, you go past the click. Now that's still saying around 100 pounds, so that's a little bit less than what it should be. For this system, I actually made these adjustable so that I can adjust the length, how much basically it's tensioning. So I can just adjust these a little bit to get a little bit more tension. But another thing that I want to talk about is the drive align pulleys. So this is a Fleet Runner drive align from Gates. And if you're looking at these, what you're going to find is that they are really tough to source for aftermarket projects, because they don't tell you which direction they tension. They'll give you the diameter of the pulley, and like almost all of these are exactly the same. The difference that they have is where the alignment pin is positioned on the backside of them, what type of pulley they have, what size pulley, so whether it's smooth or ribbed, what size pulley it is, and then which direction it tensions. So you can tell which direction it tensions by looking at these marks right here. So these marks are going to be where the tensioner starts and ends. So this is all the way tensioned right now. So it's going to start right there, and it's going to flex towards the other one. So if I crank on it as far as I can go, that mark is going to stop right there. So if you look on, Napa's got a pretty good, they a lot of times have 360 views of these. So if you spin it around and you see, okay, it's there, it's going to go to there, it's tensioning to, I would call this tensioning clockwise. Whereas if it was pulling this direction, I would call it tensioning counterclockwise. So that's really handy to know. You can go on their website and you can find, you can find these charts right here. So these are tensioning charts that'll tell you how much tension you need to have. So if you are dealing with a micro V belt that is 8 ribs, right? The suggestion tension range is from 120 to 160 on these. So it's going to be the same with a manual tensioner too. And then if you're doing a standard V belt, then that's over here, but that's, that's a totally different thing from trying to set up a serpentine system. If we look at here, you can go on here and you can look through these and you can find ones that'll work. It's best if you can find one that's easily available. From some of these are harder to get because they're really odd, odd applications. But if you can find one that's like commonly used for a, like a Freightliner or common engine like that, it's going to make it easier to find. So you can go into each one of these and see what the outside diameter is. A lot of these are running the 30 millimeter idler pulley on them. So it's got a 30 millimeter hole in the middle, which is what I wanted to use because it allowed me to offset, like in the case of this idler, it allowed me to offset it so that I could use this to tension it depending. I can spin this around in an offset and adjust this in and out like 3/4 of an inch. So the other thing I want to talk about is alignment. So if your belt is jumping a rib, then your alignment is off in some way. So it could be like, if this idler pulley was tipped one way or another or angled, that will cause your alignment to want to jump. The other thing is that, cause your belt to want to jump. The other thing is that if anything's in and out, so you need to check tipped, like what plane it's on, and then in and out. They all have to be on the same plane. One thing that you can use to do that is just a good straight edge. That works pretty good. You want to align everything down to the drive pulley, because that's obviously that's immovable. And then, align it left and right. So that works decent, but sometimes you can't get a straight edge in there. Another thing you can use is one of these little alignment tools. So just a laser and the laser's not at the bottom obviously, so then you can put this tool out there and that will allow you to align it. And if you have a steel pulley, then you can stick this thing on there, and that's kind of handy. So I think that's about it. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments, because I do respond to those regularly. I had a lot of questions going into this in terms of where to put the idler, how to mount the idler. I'm sorry, not the idler, the tensioner. And then I did have some issues with alignment where I found out that these idlers were off a little bit, so I just went in there with a grinder and adjusted the mounts a little bit until they were nice and straight. And I found out I did some reinforcement on my power steering mount, and it was holding it off of the block just a little bit, so it was on an angle, so I fixed that. But in the end, you need to make sure that you're getting 120 to 100, well, on an 8 rib, you're getting 120 to 160 pounds of tensioning force on there, and that everything's aligned properly, and that the tensioner is as close to the slack side of the belt as possible would be the most important things. So Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and leave any questions in the comments.